Today we're looking at Engelmann Spruce. That's right, it's Picea engelmanni. It's a native to Western North America, usually in the Rocky Mountains. I kind of think of Engelmann Spruce as like North American European spruce, like North American Picea obese, if you will. It's got a special place in my heart. My very first guitar was made out of Engelmann Spruce. So I have this set here that Aaron sent me. This was harvested in 2004 from a standing dead Engelmann tree. And when I first picked this up, I was like, wow, this is really quite dense and it's really quite stiff. And so I decided that I was going to kind of compare and contrast with some other Topwoods that I had, just to kind of see exactly where it sat. And the results were quite interesting. So in fact, I have right here, I have a piece of European moon spruce from Switzerland, and I have the Engelmann spruce that Aaron sent me. And I really couldn't tell. If you gave these to me blind, I couldn't tell you the difference. Data on these is very, very comparable. I dimensioned them pretty well exactly the same, and the numbers that have come out. So for example, the density of this piece, which is the Engelmann, came out at 388 kilograms per meter cubed. This one came out at 381 kilograms per meter cubed. So yeah, very, very similar. And tonally, the kind of tap response is very similar. And I'm going to share that with you now. I also, just out of curiosity, pulled out some of the Western Red Cedar that Aaron had also sent me, just to kind of give you a comparison between Cedar and the Engelmann and the Swiss Spruce. Again, dimensioned this exactly the same, and this smells amazing. So let's go with the Engelmann first. Hopefully you should get a good sense of what this is doing. I did have a hard time isolating the node point on this to kind of get it to ring out. There we go. It's lovely, just as you kind of would expect. It's not the most exciting example that I've heard. It's not kind of, you're not getting that like super over enthusiastic response from me, but it is a really beautiful example, and it does have a good sound to it. I wouldn't be scared about using this for a guitar at all. Just to compare, this is the European spruce, the Swiss moon spruce. So interestingly, the Swiss moon spruce, I measured this. This is vibrating. That kind of note is a B. It's at 61 hertz. This is a C. It's at 64. Obviously, that's going to change. That note will change depending on, which frequencies I'm isolating. But I thought that was kind of interesting. Both, very, very similar. So just a reminder, this was this top is the Engelmann. This weighs 154 grams. It's coming out at 64 hertz. This is the moon spruce. It weighed 151 grams, so 3 grams lighter, and it's coming out at 61 hertz. It's coming out at a lower frequency, which is kind of what I would expect. But they're very, very, very comparable, and they certainly look, to most people, pretty indistinguishable. This, just again for a comparison, this is the Western Red Cedar. Immediately, this is way, way less stiff. It's really kind of floppy compared to the blue Engelmann spruce. You can see this, and the tap response is audibly different. Right, super, super low in comparison. And much more active, much more alive. Which is exactly what I would expect because of the inherent differences in the structure of this cedar. So again, this is not as hard as the European spruce or the Engelmann. This is 350 on the Janka scale. This piece is weighs less. This is 128 grams. Again, this was 154 and 151, and the density of this is 323 kilograms per meter cubed. So this is measuring 51 hertz, which is a G sharp, so a lot lower. And again, this is why it's so important to kind of think about the context. You know, when I'm tapping on pieces of wood and waxing lyrical about the sound, it is really important to think about the context. You know, what is this piece of wood dimensioned to relative to something else that I might be tapping on? You know, so this is why I've got these two pieces and dimensioned them to the same specs. You can hear that this is more alive, right? It's not necessarily that cedar is more alive and more resonant and more responsive than spruce, but at this dimension, the cedar is more active because it takes, spruce has a higher stiffness to weight ratio, so I would need to take this further. I would need to sand more material off this to get it to respond in a way that this cedar is responding right now. So hopefully that's kind of cleared away some of the mystique around tap response. You know, it has to be contextualized, and it's not the golden bullet. You know, there are lots of other variables to consider. As if I almost forgot to do a blast with a magic spray, and you can see just how lovely this Engelmann spruce is. Really uniform color. It's kind of a milky, creamy white. The grain is lovely and even. Yeah. It's really, really pretty. I will just do a little comparison with the Swiss moon spruce. I wonder if that's gonna, you can see any differences there. The Engelmann does look a little bit more yellow, has a little bit more color to it, but the Swiss spruce, as we know, is exceptionally pale. Very, very pure and kind of white. But there you go. Engelmann spruce with its sister European spruce. And one of my favourite Topwoods.